All right, welcome back, guys. We're at it again. Welcome to Critical Minds with Rosa. And today we have a Kayla. Check it.
Hi guys, my name is Akela and I'll be joining Roseanne today for Critical Minds. And we have a very interesting topic today, so let's see how that goes.
Awesome, awesome. I'm loving it. So today we want to talk about marital rape. Now, to be honest, initially I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. And don't get me wrong, don't come at me now. I'm saying that because, in my opinion, sometimes, women tend to cling, cling, lock shop. And I'm thinking that's why it would normally happen. So let's just dive into this topic. What is your stance, Akela, when it comes on to marital rape?
I honestly think that a wife can be married, can be raped inside her marriage. And let me
Yeah.
tell you why. One of the things, the biggest things about it is that what do we constitute as rape? Rape is basically unwanted or forceful sex, right? Meaning that if the wife does not want it and the husband takes it, it's rape,
Right.
right? Not only is there that, I am not disputing the fact that there are some women who use sex to control men. Don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong.
Right.
However, there are some instances where it is a valid reason as to why a wife does not want to have sex with her husband. That's
Right.
my
And
honest opinion.
I'm really glad you said that because based on Wikipedia's definition, they're
Mhm.
saying marital or spousal rape is the act of sexual intercourse with one's spouse without the spouse's consent. So even though, in my opinion, I'm saying you're married, you went through the vows, you say I do what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. I'm thinking, if it is that the woman does not have a plausible reason, right, to be really locking it down, I'm thinking then might as well take it. But guys, don't come at me. Now, based on my research, Akela, because I know we have been talking about this, and that is why we're here, critical minds, we're here to educate you because sometimes we don't go out and get the information for ourselves, and so we might be blindsided or ignorant to what we are talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah, now when I did the research, you're looking at approximately 1 in every 10 marriages ending up in marital rape based on the female's perspective of it. And 77% of these are still not reported because it seems as if the women over time tend to become
Accustomed
guilty.
to it, or
Yeah, accustomed to it or guilty that, this is my fault because probably if I had done X or if I had done Y, it would have been differently. What are your thoughts on that?
all right. So definitely, I agree with that. A lot goes unreported because of the guilt that women feel and the shame that they're made to feel. It
Mm-hmm.
goes unreported. There's also the fact that, look at it this way, and this is why I honestly believe that marital sex is a thing and it does happen quite frequently. One of the biggest things in sex is communication,
All right.
right? And if you take that out of it, if I communicate to you that I do not want this and you decide to disregard
All
my
right.
opinion or my request, that
Mm-hmm.
in and of itself takes away somebody's free will and their choice.
All right.
And that in essence leads to resentment. Now, one of the biggest things that I think leads to marital rape is, from what I've researched, is that many women oftentimes deny putting aside the women that just use sex to control a man, but
Right.
many women oftentimes deny their husband sex because of things that are happening in the relationship that go unaddressed. For men, sex is a physical thing. For
Right.
women, it's a mental thing. And if a woman's mind is not in it, she's not going to want it physically. And because many problems inside, and I speak for Jamaica, a Jamaican home, they're swept under the rug,
Mm-hmm.
right? It leads for things to end up in a sense that, okay, so a lot of resentment is built up over time. It builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and then a woman may feel powerless, whether it be because of financial obligation or because of children that she cannot leave or she's unable to leave, and this is her only way of saying, okay, this is enough. That could possibly be her way. And then when a man takes that right from her, I honestly think that marital rape is something that we should have more legislation towards, because really and truly there is none.
Right, right. Because I'm glad you even said that about the legislation. Because looking into it, we're looking at a first world country such as the United States. And based on my researches, we're looking at 17 states that still has loopholes when it comes down to marital rape. So this is simply saying, when it's brought before the court, based on their investigation, they might deem it as void, right? No, not only that, you also mentioned, their children. 1 in 5 of these instances of persons who actually survived this encounter, 1 in 5 of these instances, the children actually witness what is happening. And that is completely absurd.
Definitely.
Further research,
Definitely.
because I'm like, this is crazy, because I really dived into it because I was just looking at it in a minor aspect when there was so much more to it. And
Mm-hmm.
actually I found out, like, there was actually a research and different studies done. When a woman like has a C-section for giving birth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even after giving birth, a woman is given time for her body to heal.
Heal.
And based on
Minimum of six
research,
weeks.
yeah, and based on research, some of these women are being forced during that time to either commit, or act in this particular way when mentally and physically their body is just not ready. No, even to
C-sections, Roseanne. I actually visited a health clinic,
yeah.
a pediatric clinic, and one of the things that I asked one of the nurses, and she said that quite a few women come to their 6-week clinic pregnant again after giving birth less than 6 weeks ago, and more than 50% of those pregnancies were unwanted, and they were basically, how do I put it, they were forced into the situation where they had to have sex with the man to either A, keep peace, or B, ensure that their financial situation is still stable. Because the fact of the matter is that quite a lot of business places here do not offer maternity leave for women.
Right,
And
right.
because of that, they are fully and completely dependent upon the man. So they are now forced in the time period of 6 weeks, when almost every doctor agrees that a woman needs this time to heal her body, needs this time to take care of herself, needs this time to bond with her child, and they go back to their 6-week clinic asking for an abortion because they were forced into a sexual situation that they were mentally and physically incapable of handling.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, okay, it's something, it's giving you this for something. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, majority of these most times are single parents. Um,
Mm-hmm.
these are single parents who either the father is saying, okay, well, if you do not give this to me, then there is no support for that child. But
Definitely.
can we therefore say that the media has played a role in this? When we look at movies such as 365 DNI,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even though these persons were not yet married, we're seeing where sexual assault in its blatant term was even exposed to this person. This woman was captured, taken against her will. Do you think, media, when you talk about 50 Shades of Grey, the fact that, this whole BDSM mentality is coming about, is it misguiding men? Is it telling them that, okay, probably this is something that women like?
But here's the thing about it, Roseanne. Yes, these shows came about, right? But
Yeah.
let's look at 50 Shades. Initially, it started off with them having a conversation. It
Mm-hmm.
led to the conversation, communication deteriorating. Their relationship went on the rocks. But then, while they did go back into that lifestyle, do you
Mm-hmm.
know what they did? They communicated
Right.
so that nobody was uncomfortable in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things that is causing marital rape is the lack of communication. For example, a husband may like something, right? A particular thing in the bedroom, while the
Right.
completely against it or on the fence about it. And if
Mm-hmm.
we then say that, oh, what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, and the husband then takes it, that now leads the wife to becoming resentful. Because we could have talked about this. This is something we could have communicated about to say, okay, so you want this. Okay, what does this entail? Because a lot of persons may see things in pornography and think that
Yeah.
this is the norm. And
Yeah.
if it may be the norm in some relationships, there are some precautionary measures that are taken when it becomes a norm in a relationship. The problem is persons are removing that communication aspect to make sure that, okay, are you okay with this, am I okay with this? Persons are taking away that aspect. Then also we have to look at this front. Let us say a wife and a husband get separated does not necessarily mean divorced,
Right.
right? Meaning that you are still legally married. If you and I are separated, there was a case
Mm-hmm.
in an area that my friend lives in.
Mm-hmm.
The wife and husband were separated. Wife moves out of the house with the kids, everything. They no longer communicated because the husband was of the opinion that if he was not in a physical relationship with the wife, he would not support his children. He
Yeah.
then comes to her home and rapes her. She goes, reports it to the police, and because she is technically still married to this man,
Mm-hmm.
he got away with it. So we have to still look at those terms. Yes,
Right.
you may be married to somebody, but you can be separated from them because of the lack of communication in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree, because even as you were speaking about that, another popularly known movie came to mind. We know this is a Tyler Perry production. It is Mad Black Woman, a Mad
Woman.
Black Woman. And in this particular relationship, and this even goes back to what you were saying earlier, as it relates to the fact that when it comes down to intercourse for women, it's not just physical. It's something that has to do with the mental. It has to do with how you feel and how the person treats you. And in this particular movie, he was being very abusive to her,
Mm-hmm.
verbally, physically, every alley you could have thought about. And as a result, a woman would not feel comfortable, to give herself in that situation, married or not,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not conducive to that sort of connection.
Definitely agree with you, Rosa. But let me just quickly flip the script here. So we're talking about a woman being raped inside the marriage. Let's talk
Ah,
about the men being raped. In our
well,
culture, and let's be honest, Roseanne, in our
mm,
culture, based on legislation, and
yes,
being a man cannot be raped in our country. He
yes,
cannot.
mhm,
Unless rape in our country is when someone is penetrated by a body part of the next person of another person.
right,
If a woman quote unquote rapes a man using the definition of sexually taking advantage of somebody, then a
mm,
man cannot be raped by our country standards and by legislation in our country. So then what methods are there in place to protect men? Because if a man goes to the police station saying that he was raped, he's pretty much laughed out of the
yeah,
police
he's
station. And
ridiculed.
we have had multiple news articles and news headlines stating where instances of this have happened and nothing has yet changed. So while yes, a woman may be taking advantage of a man, there are instances when women take advantage of men.
Well, I'm very glad you raised that because, whew, I to be honest, guys, and I'm just gonna be real, because we're talking about real life situation. In my opinion, even though we know, yes, that a man can be sexually assaulted, I would really like to see on what grounds. No, on what grounds could I be married to someone? And, we did talk about the woman's perspective, and I'm trying not to be biased. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking on the perspective, whereas the woman is doing, her regular duties, everything she's supposed to do. She's not being abusive or anything, to the man. They're communicating. And then this particular, husband decided not to service his wife. And I think if the wife decides to take her servicing, she has all the right to do so. And again, guys, I'm not being biased. It's just based on the way I am looking at it. No,
But let me ask you then, Roseanne,
yes.
what is the reason behind the husband not wanting to service his wife? We have to look at this in a rosy. Let
Mhm.
me put this to perspective. A lot of relationships, and I did some research on this. Well, yeah, I did some research on it, and basically, in order for a man to feel that he is worthy, or most men to feel as if they're worthy of their wife, they have to be providing financially. They have to be providing, not necessarily emotionally, because men look at emotions different than women do, but emotionally and financially. If a man is of the opinion that he is not providing with his wife with what she needs, then what then he feels less than. So most men feel less than, and in that instance he may not be, while he may physically react to her advances, mentally he's not in a place where he would want to do this because he feels as if he does not deserve it.
Okay, well, while I can understand what you're saying, probably we need to put a duration on it, because I do understand, when it comes down to finances and not being able to provide for one's family, I know for sure that it is, the number one impact. It has a grave impact on a man, and not just any man, but a husband who is there willing and ready to provide for his family. No, looking at it though, let's say for example, we're looking at COVID situation right now, right? We
Mm-hmm.
understand that right now we don't know when this thing is going to end or when anything will go back to normalcy. Now, can you just imagine a woman who is married? The woman is working, but the man at the time might have been laid off or
Mm-hmm.
something of the sort. Let's say the person is out of a job, but it's not the norm for this husband to be out of a job. He's
Mm-hmm.
normally working and providing, and now the woman is becoming the breadwinner at this point due to the
Mm-hmm.
fact that, he's unable to provide at the moment. I believe if the woman is not holding, anything over his head to make him feel less than, he should not think it is not, a part of his duty, because at the end of the day, marriage is partnership. So
Mm-hmm.
if you fall short and I can help you up, I don't see why that should even impact our sexual life. And that is just me as it relates to, because at the end of the day, woman has needs, Akila.
I
So
do agree. I
you don't
agree.
know when COVID is gonna end, and this man now is all up in himself, and he's talking about, him not being able to do it. He's not in the mental space. 6 months down the line, what is going to happen? The woman is gonna take it.
Mm. All right, so here's the thing, Roseanne. I completely agree with you on that end. But let's say a husband, he used to provide financially, right?
Yeah.
Remember, a marriage is not made up solely of finances. It
Mm-hmm.
is not. And
Yeah.
in Jamaica, women take care mostly of the household duties. While we do work outside of the household, most of the household duties are performed by women.
Yeah.
Now, let us say a man is not used to performing household duties.
Mm-hmm.
Cool? And he gets laid off.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying now to find himself in the headspace. Okay, now I'm gonna have to be doing household duties. How do I go about doing so? I know men who are married, they don't know how to wash, they have never cooked in the entirety of their marriage, and
No.
they've never had the duty of taking care of their children. It is
Yeah.
now flipped because of COVID. A lot of that is happening where it's now flipped because of COVID. Now some women may not have the patience to say, okay, I need to give this person time to assimilate themselves with their new role in our marriage, because at this present moment our roles have switched. And
Yeah.
while for years and it's become the norm that a woman takes care of the household, majorly a man does not do that, and
Right.
he may need time to do that. And most women don't have the patience to give the man the time to assimilate himself to the situation, and that therefore adds added pressure to him. So I need to find a job, I need to learn how to take care of this household while I'm looking for a job, I need to take care of my wife's needs, and all of this pressure is being added. Now while we as women are used to multitasking, getting everything done at the snap of a finger, the fact of the matter is most men don't know how to do this. And I'm being honest. I'm going to give you an example, a personal example that I have, right? My parents have been together for over 40 years, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been married for almost 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
My mother did a surgery few years in the past, right? And she's usually the one to do the household duties. So now my mother is on bed rest.
Mm-hmm.
Cool? I'm I am of the firm belief I'm not gonna wash your clothes. I'm not gonna iron for you. And you know this about me, Rose, and I'm stubborn when I need to be.
Yes.
So now my father is thrown into the position where he has to cook, he has to iron to get and he has to take care of the household. He has done this for over 20 years.
Yeah.
No, he needs time to get himself in a position where he's okay with doing this and being able to balance everything. It's just the same with a woman when she just has a child. Never had a child before, you need to learn how to balance. Okay, how do I balance work? How do I balance home life? How do I balance husband life? How do I balance my child? All in this time. Women come with, and I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to stereotype, but women come with the natural ability to multitask and to deal with high pressure situations. And
Yeah.
and men generally are not placed in those high pressure situations. So we still have to give them time to assimilate themselves with what is taking place. And some women, because they're not willing to give them that time, it leads to added frustration, which
Mhm.
then leads to them feeling as if the husband is withholding sex when really and truly he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, but how much time is good time? You have some who will wallow forever. And, I'm a person like this. I'm an action person. So let's say,
Mm-hmm.
again, it comes back to communication. So as you were saying earlier, if it is that the husband in this position is now struggling with
Mm-hmm.
how to do, what to handle, I think as a partner they can come together and make a decision, right?
Definitely, I agree with you. But how many persons are actually doing that?
Well,
Not
that's why
many.
we're here. So guys, if you're in this situation, you need
Communicate.
together, communicate, make a decision. Do not go out there assaulting each other, okay? Because you're gonna go to jail.
My question to you now is then, Roseanne. So let us say we're in a situation, wife gives her, let's say we put it this way, right?
Yes.
COVID has taken over, is running rampant through our country. Quite a
Mhm.
few persons have been laid off, right?
Yes.
No, we know that a lot of birth control is out there in the world. We
Mhm.
know this. We have like 10 million different types of birth control, and for each type of birth control, there are subtypes to that type of birth control, right?
Sure.
Now, let us say for argument's sake, we are home. Now, I realize that in this generation, Boredom equals sex.
Mm-hmm.
So you're bored, that means having sex. But there's also this culture that is being promoted by artists and also by lack of knowledge that unprotected sex is okay or is
Right.
better,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, let us say that husband and wife are now at home during COVID. They're not able to have a social life as they would to take up their time. Husband now wants to have sex with wife. Some women are allergic to multiple types of contraceptives,
Right. Right.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the husband does not want to wear a condom. What
Mm-hmm.
happens then? If there must be some compromise, and some persons are stubborn, so what happens then? Because if I'm in a situation, for
Right.
argument's sake, where I'm allergic to a certain type of contraceptive, and
Right.
I'm saying to my husband, okay, so I'm willing to give you the sex if
Mm-hmm.
you're willing to wear a condom, and the husband is outright refusing to do so, then we're now at a stalemate. What happens then? And if the husband then takes it, that is completely against my will because you were not willing to compromise and you were not willing to work with me. So no, I am one at risk. Two, we're now even worse at risk because we're in COVID and I'm possibly pregnant.
Yeah. No, this is a sticky one. And as you said, compromise. And I believe, many persons who are married by now, they should know. No, I'm not married, guys. So I know I'm not an expert, so don't come at me later. So I would assume that if you're married, you were by now aware that you would need to compromise, either that or abstain. Because at the end of the day, if either party is going to be impacted, if you really love somebody, you would care about, what's going to happen with them. So if you can't compromise,
But
abstain.
then, Roseanne, let's be honest now. Let's be honest. How many examples of marriage do we actually have in our society? That's one.
Mhm.
Two, who is telling these persons that, listen, you need to learn how to compromise? I know there are some persons who never in their life knew that marriage was about compromise. They thought that marriage was about, okay, you and I are committed to each other and we can have sex whenever we want and we can do whatever we want together. They don't know that marriage is really and truly hard work. And the fact of the matter is that there are not many examples of successful marriages in our country. And when I say successful, I'm not only talking about longevity, but even beyond the longevity of it, the marriage is actually working where there's open communication, open, both parties are able to compromise and both parties understand each other. Most of the marriages that we have now are marriages out of A, convenience, B, duty, or C, I think that this is the right thing to do, right?
I'm
And
getting too old.
yes, I'm getting too old. And because of that, we don't get to learn our partners enough so that we can have a good relationship. And we don't, and a lot, what I realize, this generation of persons don't know how to deal with conflict.
Right.
Conflict usually it ends up in our society in either violence
Mm-hmm.
or violence. And we don't want for it to go that way, and we don't want for persons to become resentful. So honestly, I think that we need some more role models, because the fact of the matter is that many fathers are absent from their sons' lives. Many mothers are absent from their daughters' lives. A lot of this is happening, and because of that, we don't have a steady path. Most children are born into a single parent household. They see one of their parents occasionally, or that parent does not feel, they see the parent, but the parent does not feel obligated to be a part of that child's life. Being a parent is not just donating your genes. Being a
Yeah.
parent is raising your child and teaching them values. Many
Mhm.
children don't know those values. So as a result of that, they lead the life that ends up in marriages that are not, there's no open communication, and because of that leads to situations that lead to marital rape or separation.
Most definitely. Because, when it comes down to that, I do know because trust, like all of my friends who will be watching this, almost all of them are married. And based on what I've seen, is that before they before they get married, you have to go through a series of counseling. Now, within, throughout that counseling, the counselor, whomever the person is, who is normally a reverend or a pastor, would guide them along this path. Now, for those who don't know, whenever you come across an issue during your marriage, you can always go back to that person who did your ceremony, the original marriage counselor that you signed up with, because it's their duty, to assist you throughout all of that. I know also the church plays a major role in it because, for example, my church, I know that every year, apart from this year, well, we did it before COVID, but after COVID, it's kind of difficult. But we normally have an annual thing where they have the service for couples, for married persons, letting them know certain challenges they will face and how to overcome them. We also have that there is that message we did about submission. It's on our church YouTube channel, guys. You can always go ahead and check it out on submission, because some people think that, and it even leads back to marital rape, because some husbands or wives believe that, okay, I can just tell you to do this because you're to submit to me, but that is not the case. That's not how it
But
should.
let me ask you, Roseanne, that marriage counseling, is it mandated by law?
By law, I
Or
believe so, because, well,
it's not mandated by law, Rosie? You don't
I
have to
can't
do
talk
it.
facts. Yeah, I don't know. I can't talk the facts on that, but I do believe that most persons, if they're going to do your ceremony, they have to go. Well,
They
what?
choose to, what it is that the most pastors, they make it a rule for themselves, but by
Okay,
law don't have to do it. So
okay,
if
yeah,
you don't know that, okay, the pastor needs to do this, and remember, you don't have to get married in a church. You
mm,
can just go, as long as you put, and this is by law, you have to say that you're getting married, either put it on a post office, a church, or some well
yeah,
visited public place. You only have to do that for 2 weeks before your marriage, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact time length. And
yeah.
then you can just go to the court, get your marriage license, sign it up, and you're married. You don't have to go through a pastor,
Oh, I.
right? So most, and if you realize, it's not only pastors that are able to manage a marriage. You don't have, it can
Yeah,
be a justice of the peace, it can be a
yeah,
judge, a police of, so many other persons. So what is to say that they're knowing that you need to get marriage counseling before you get married?
yeah,
And then there's also the fact that there's a stereotype that is tied to marriage counseling, that not just marriage counseling, counseling in general, that going to counseling means admitting that there is something wrong. It's not necessarily admitting that there's something wrong, it's just that you are aware that there is a possibility that in the future something may come up and you need to be able to admit this. But because of our culture, again, people don't like admitting that I can fail at something. And
mm-hmm.
because they don't like admitting that, that leads to this constant cycle of getting married, and we have so many things, we get separated and nothing is fixed because we don't know that, marriage counseling is there not only for marriages but pre-marital counseling.
Yeah, most definitely. I completely agree on that. So, it's pretty sad. Even November of 2019, Oprah Winfrey did a video as it relates to a beauty queen who was raped by her
Mm-hmm.
husband. So this, and October is also recognized as Domestic Violence Month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we just want to encourage persons to go out there, get help, get educated, be in the know. And if it is that you are a victim of domestic violence, whether it is marital rape, whatever it is, do not be scared to get help. Yes, that is coming from us here at Critical Minds.
Yeah, definitely
Anything,
agree with you, Roseanne.
anything else for you?
Um, At this point in time, no, but I think it's safe to say that we do think we both agree that marital rape is a thing. And
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that we both agree that there is little to no legislation regarding marital rape. And
Mhm.
also, I think we can also agree on the fact that even if marital rape happens, it is almost never reported, and because of that, it leads to a constant cycle that leads persons to feel resentful, and not only resentful, cause them to lash out, not necessarily at their spouse, but it could also be the child. Because if I see a child, well, some persons they may say, "Can't catch her catching shot,"
Yeah.
so there is that as well, but we definitely need to work as a country and as a society to
Yeah.
fix this mindset that a wife is obligated to give her husband sex with or without her consent, and also a husband is expected to give his wife sex with or without his consent. So I think we need to break away from that.
I totally agree. But husband, please ensure that you don't just lock shop for no reason. And
And
if
wives ensure that they don't lock shop for no reason either. I gotta
right,
stand up for the men, Roseanne.
yeah, I'm trying, but I'm telling you, it's weak. So, guys, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe. We have so many hot topics coming up, and we're just sizzling to bring you the details. This is Critical Minds with Rosa and Akela.